Imagine logging into your analytics dashboard today, Wednesday, July 15th, 2026, and just seeing 55% of your organic search traffic simply vanish, just overnight.
Just completely gone.
Right, completely gone. Your servers are totally fine. Your site architecture is perfectly intact. Your traditional technical rankings haven't even dropped a single spot.
Yeah, but a machine just decided to answer the user's question directly on the results page, right? Like before they even had a chance to scroll down to your link.
Exactly. And welcome to the deep dive. Because for anyone navigating the internet today, whether you run a massive enterprise brand or, just manage a specialized blog, the rules have changed.
They really have.
We are dismantling a highly technical SEO daily technology report today. And if you just want to understand how information actually reaches your screen right now, this is for you. Because fighting for traditional position number one on a search engine is, it's functionally dead.
It is. The structural shift in how these retrieval algorithms operate is just staggering. I mean, we're no longer operating in a system of indexing and clicking. We are in a system of synthesis and generation.
Right.
If the AI model doesn't compute your domain as a primary source for its synthesis, your content is it's effectively invisible.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we dive into the strategy of how to actually survive this shift, we really need to mathematically quantify what this digital battlefield looks like for us on July 15th, 2026.
Yeah, we need the raw numbers.
And looking at the raw data from the report, Google AI overviews, those generated answers dominating the top of your screen, they are now triggering on 13.14% of all U.S. desktop queries.
Which is huge.
It is. That deployment rate has literally doubled since January of 2025.
And that represents a massive allocation of computational resources from the search engines. I mean, generating an AI response costs significantly more server power than simply, retrieving a list of blue links.
Oh, totally. The compute cost has to be astronomical.
Right. So the fact that they're scaling this to over 13% of queries indicates they see an overwhelming user retention benefit, one that basically justifies that immense compute cost.
Right. But the collateral damage of that user retention is where we get back to that 55% traffic drop I mentioned earlier. Because when an AI overview triggers, organic click-through rates for traditional search results just plummet.
They fall off a cliff.
We are talking about a collapse from an already dismal 1.41% click-through rate down to 0.64%. The user just reads the machine's summary and abandons the search entirely.
What's fascinating here is the counter metric hidden in that exact same data set.
Oh, the citation bump.
Exactly. The traditional click-through rate collapses, yes. But if a brand manages to actually be cited within that generative AI overview, meaning the large language model explicitly links to your URL as the source, that specific brand experiences a 35% higher organic click-through rate.
Higher than they would have in a traditional search environment.
Yeah, 35% higher.
That completely flips the dynamic. It's like instead of Google acting like a giant directory, the AI is basically acting like a digital bouncer now.
I like that analogy.
Right.
Right.
Like if you're standing in the general admission line of organic links, you're invisible to the crowd. But if you get the VIP pass, where the AI actively cites you, the algorithm basically escorts you right past the velvet rope.
You get a monopolized share of the user's attention. And we also have to look beyond just a single search engine here.
True. ChatGPT is a massive player now.
Yeah, the report isolates data on ChatGPT, and it shows it's now embedding brand homepage URLs in line within its conversational responses, like 5 times more frequently than previous models.
Wow, 5 times.
It's establishing an entirely new, highly attributable referral pipeline. So the mandate for digital visibility has officially transitioned from a volume-based traffic game to a precision-based authority game.
So you have to meticulously engineer your digital footprint to compel these models to cite you, which frankly forces a very uncomfortable transition for digital marketers listening to this.
Oh yeah, it changes everything.
Because if being cited by a generative engine is the new VIP pass, how do you mathematically compel a non-deterministic machine to link to you?
Right.
And this brings us to the rise of GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, which the report defines as basically the absolute core strategy as of mid-2026.
And GEO requires a fundamentally different understanding of machine reading. A traditional search crawler, it looks for keyword strings and backlinks to judge popularity.
Discounting links, basically.
Yeah, exactly. But a large language model, or LLM, maps semantic proximity to judge truth.
And the numbers on how these models judge truth are really eye-opening. According to the report, a brand is 6.5 times more likely to be cited by an AI through a third-party source than through its own domain.
Yeah, that's a wild stat.
So if I run a cybersecurity firm, an AI model is exponentially more likely to learn about my software from, like, a tech journalist's review or a PR syndicate than from my own homepage.
And this comes down to how LLMs are mathematically designed to avoid bias. They cross-reference vectors. When an AI ingests data, a claim you make about your own company on your own site carries an incredibly low semantic weight.
Because you're obviously biased about yourself.
Right. It's isolated data. But when high-authority external domains, like major news outlets or academic journals, associate your brand entity with a specific area of expertise, the machine triangulates those data points.
So digital PR is no longer just some peripheral brand awareness tactic.
No, building external consensus is the heavy lifting of algorithmic visibility today.
But the content on your own domain is still the ultimate destination for that traffic, right? And the report drops an absolute bombshell on how AI crawlers parse text. It says 44.2% of all LLM citations originate from the first 30% of a given text document.
Yeah.
And additionally, the recency of the content update is the single highest predictor of earning a citation.
That 44% metric really exposes the architectural limitations of current AI models.
Wait, I have to jump in here because this basically destroys a decade of established content strategy.
Oh, completely.
For years, the dominant tactic was forcing dwell time. Writers would bury the actual answer beneath a massive, rambling 2,000-word introduction just to keep you scrolling down the page.
The classic recipe blog problem.
Exactly. You had to read a sprawling narrative about a chef's childhood summers in Italy before you found out, like, how much butter to use. Does this data mean that entire structure is actively harming visibility in 2026?
It is severely penalizing it.
Yeah.
The era of the rambling introduction is computationally obsolete.
Wow.
Yeah. LLMs don't experience dwell time. They operate within strict technical boundaries called context windows and token limits.
And for those listening who aren't deep in the engineering side, a context window is basically the AI's short-term memory capacity for a single interaction, right?
Exactly. When the algorithm parses a document, its attention mechanism naturally degrades over long sequences. So it assigns the highest semantic weight, the most mathematical importance, to the earliest tokens in the document.
It expects a logical thesis up front.
Right. If you bury the empirical data at the bottom of the page, the AI often just loses the thread computationally, or it discards the text as irrelevant.
So we have to completely invert the pyramid. You hand the AI the raw answer in the first paragraph, and then, you provide the depth and context below it for the human reader who actually wants to stick around.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the urgency for direct answers stems from the most critical vulnerability in the AI ecosystem right now. The report highlights that generative search engines currently suffer from a 9 to 15% hallucination rate.
Which is terrifying. They are generating objectively false information nearly 1/10 of the time.
Yeah, and a 50% failure rate for a search engine is an existential threat. If a user asks for medical symptoms or financial data and the machine invents a fake response, that user will never trust the platform again.
And that terror of hallucination is exactly what is driving the next major algorithmic filter they talk about. EET, experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness.
We've treated EEAT as like a philosophical guideline for years. But as of mid-2026, it is officially a hard algorithmic ranking signal.
Especially on YMYL topics, right? Your money or your life.
Aggressively enforced on YMYL topics. So anything involving healthcare, financial investments, legal counsel, emergency preparedness.
The report indicates that these AI engines will heavily suppress highly optimized content from unknown authors. They actively favor established institutional brands instead.
Because the machine needs a verifiable entity. If a newly launched blog publishes a perfectly optimized 5,000-word guide on managing cholesterol,
It won't rank.
the AI will ignore it in favor of a rough 500-word bulletin from the Mayo Clinic. It relies on the institutional trust of the medical center to shield itself from generating a hallucinated medical claim.
Here's where it gets really interesting for the developers listening. It is one thing to be an expert in the real world, but it's another to format that expertise so an LLM can actually parse it efficiently.
Right.
The report notes that traditional schema markup, that hidden JSON code developers spent years meticulously injecting into the back end of websites to explain what a page was about, it has almost zero direct impact on AI visibility now.
The deprecation of hidden schema as a primary driver is just a massive pivot for the industry.
It's crazy.
For years, the philosophy was to hide the structural data in the back-end code for the crawler while leaving the front end kind of messy for the human. But generative models don't rely on hidden tags. They are trained on natural language and visible structure.
So the new standard is structural extraction through entity SEO. Things like visible HTML tables, bulleted FAQs, explicitly define concepts right there on the page.
Exactly.
It's like we are structuring content for machine understanding now, not just human readability. We are formatting content like we're explaining a complex recipe to a toddler. We can't just write a flowing paragraph. We have to isolate the ingredients, quantify them in a table, and clearly separate the steps so the machine doesn't, accidentally bake a shoe.
That structural clarity reduces the cognitive load on the machine's processing. When we discuss entity SEO, we are moving away from optimizing for isolated keyword strings. We are mapping relationships.
Give me an example of that.
So instead of targeting the phrase best running shoes, a sophisticated 2026 strategy builds a document defining the entity of pronation and then linking it to the entity of EVA foam materials and contrasting it with the entity of heel drop mechanics.
Ah, I see.
By establishing a highly structured knowledge graph on the visible page, the LLM utilizes your content as a trusted anchor to ground its generated responses and avoid hallucinations.
The mechanics of all this are fascinating, but this raises a massive logistical nightmare for the marketing teams actually doing the work.
Oh, tracking it is a nightmare.
Right. If AI answers are non-deterministic, meaning they generate on the fly, constantly changing based on slight variations in user prompts or the underlying temperature settings of the model, how is it mathematically possible to track if your generative engine optimization is actually working?
It's so tough.
With traditional search, you just ran a script to see if you were in position 3 for a specific keyword. Tracking a hallucinating AI seems impossible.
Well, manual tracking is completely dead. You cannot open an incognito browser, search your own brand, and expect the output you see to match what a user in a different demographic sees. The variance is just too high.
So to solve this, the report details a brand new mandatory software category for the 2026 tech stack: AI visibility tools. Tracking traditional keyword ranks was like reading a static map, right? You knew where the highways were. But tracking generative visibility requires a live weather radar because the terrain is constantly shifting across entirely different AI models.
And the fragmentation is the real challenge there. The algorithmic weights Anthropic uses for Claude are fundamentally different from how Google tunes Gemini or, how OpenAI balances ChatGPT.
Right, and the enterprise solution highlighted here is a platform called Profound, running at $499 a month. It aggregates citation reporting across Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, and Perplexity simultaneously.
Which is incredibly useful for big brands.
Yeah. And for smaller operations, tools like Otterly offer similar tracking at $29 a month. And LLMs provides a free tier for basic citation monitoring. But the most disruptive player mentioned in the report is Semrush.
Yes, Semrush has aggressively capitalized on the need for integration here.
They launched Semrush One for roughly $120 a month, which merges traditional static keyword tracking with this volatile AI visibility tracking. But the feature that really caught my attention is their Copilot.
Yes.
It doesn't just display the chaotic data. It actually uses its own generative AI to interpret the variants and prescribe specific on-page actions.
This raises an important question regarding the evolution of software as a service. These platforms are no longer just selling dashboard access or raw data aggregation. I mean, the industry is saturated with data.
Right, everyone has data.
What Semrush Copilot and similar tools are selling is algorithmic synthesis. Workflow efficiency is the true product now. The tool performs the analytical heavy lifting of a junior data scientist, identifying anomalies between traditional rank drops and AI citation gains, and instantly outputting a tactical directive.
Which brings us to the most extreme evolution covered in the report. Because we aren't just handing the tracking and the analysis over to the machines anymore. The actual physical execution of the SEO code changes is being automated.
Yeah, the execution layer.
We are fully in the era of self-driving SEO.
And that shift from diagnostic tools to autonomous deployment is the defining characteristic of enterprise marketing for July 2026.
So what does this all mean? The dominant example here is BrightEdge, specifically their autopilot feature. They utilize a deep learning engine to do real-time anomaly detection. But instead of just telling a developer what to fix, Autopilot automatically pushes the on-page code changes live to the website.
It just deploys it.
Yes. The report cites Teradata, who utilized this system to increase their traffic by 723% over 9 months.
Wow.
I know. The barrier to entry is astronomical, though costing anywhere from $50,000 to over $130,000 annually.
But that price tag reflects the elimination of friction. It essentially replaces a massive cross-functional team of technical SEOs, QA testers, and front-end developers.
Okay, but I have to be honest, I read that and felt immediate alarm. We are literally letting an AI rewrite and deploy live code on a public-facing website without human review. That sounds amazing, but also completely terrifying. What happens if the AI hallucinates a structural change, breaks the canonical tags, and de-indexes an entire e-commerce catalog?
The skepticism is completely warranted, believe me.
Hmm.
But we have to understand the parameters these systems operate within. Enterprise domains often consist of millions of dynamically generated pages across hundreds of templates. Human engineering simply cannot parse algorithmic shifts and deploy manual A/B tests fast enough to remain competitive anymore. The autonomous systems operate within strictly defined guardrails.
So they aren't just Wild Westing the code.
Right. They are dynamically tuning semantic density, injecting internal anchor links, or modifying meta tags based on real-time engagement data. If a deployed change results in a negative traffic trajectory, the system instantly reverts the code. They aren't hallucinating new layouts. They are mathematically optimizing the existing structure at superhuman speed.
Okay, that makes the reality of it much less terrifying. And we are seeing this automation trickle down to the broader market too. Ahrefs, which is, the industry standard for backlink analysis, they've upgraded their infrastructure to update their entire link index every 15 to 30 minutes.
Which is incredibly fast.
Yeah. They are using AI to instantly identify toxic link spikes or velocity anomalies in competitor profiles. It reduces what used to be a multi-day manual audit into a real-time alert.
It fundamentally changes resource allocation for agencies.
And even standard desktop crawlers like Screaming Frog are adapting. For $290 a year, they now use AI to prioritize technical crawl issues based on potential traffic impact.
And that Screaming Frog update solves a massive historical bottleneck.
Oh, the stakeholder buy-in problem.
Exactly. Technical professionals have always struggled to communicate urgency to stakeholders. When a site audit reveals a canonical tag error, meaning duplicate pages are confusing, the search engine, a CFO or a lead developer, often ignores the ticket because it just sounds like abstract jargon.
Right, they just see a tech complaint.
But by applying AI to cross-reference that canonical error with the search volume of the cannibalized keywords, the tool translates the technical flaw directly into financial terms. When the ticket says, "Fixing this canonical loop will recover $40,000 in lost quarterly traffic," the engineering team instantly prioritizes the fix.
Translating technical debt into business ROI. It is brilliant. The final piece of the 2026 stack, covered in the report, deals with content generation itself. Surfer SEO. They built their reputation on natural language processing, analyzing keyword density, but now they've deeply integrated their backend with AI writing models like ChatGPT and Jasper.
For a seamless brief-to-publish workflow.
Exactly. The system generates the structural brief, the LLM drafts the text, Surfer scores the semantic density in real time, and the final optimized output is published directly to the CMS.
It is the total industrialization of knowledge distribution. The AI researches the vector relationships, writes the draft, verifies the optimization score, and autonomous agents deploy the code. The entire pipeline is heavily mechanized.
Let's pull back from the technical depths of this July 15th, 2026 report and synthesize this for you, the listener. If you are operating a digital property right now, the traditional blueprint is obsolete. You cannot win by stuffing keywords into rambling, unstructured articles.
No, those days are over.
To earn the AI citation, the ultimate VIP pass, you have to optimize for machine ingestion. You must establish rigorous third-party PR to validate your authority. You must present your data in crisp, visible tables and entity clusters. And above all, you must respect the computational limits of the context window by delivering your absolute best, most direct answer in the first 30% of your text.
It requires extreme discipline. But mathematically, this environment heavily penalizes manipulation and vastly rewards clear, structured, verifiable expertise.
It demands absolute clarity. But I want to leave you with a final friction point to consider regarding this new ecosystem. We spent this entire deep dive establishing that AI search engines are terrified of hallucinations. To protect themselves, they mathematically suppress unknown entities, heavily favoring massive established institutions.
The algorithms default to legacy authority.
Exactly. So, for you listening, if the gates of information are now guarded by machines that refuse to cite anything that isn't already established, how does a brilliant, completely unknown startup launching today ever break through?
That's the million-dollar question.
If you need PR to earn an AI citation, but you need AI visibility to attract PR, how do you hack the ultimate chicken and egg algorithmic loop? How do you convince the digital bouncer you belong inside when the machine won't even process your ID?
That structural paradox is the defining challenge for the next generation of digital enterprise.
Something to turn over in your mind as you navigate the generative web. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. Keep questioning the algorithms, adapt to the architecture, and as always, keep exploring.